It is no surprise to see that Kamala Harris's star is indeed rising, based on a few very ancient tools of inspection of her natal astrology chart, including something called distributions through the bounds. We're going to talk today about that and her alliance with Tim Walz and how that might be a propellant for greater success. I will also note this election is deeply complicated and there may be last-minute twists and turns, especially for Kamala, in a bit of a downdraft of negative publicity in the middle of August. But more importantly, the way this election looks for the entirety of Trump versus Kamala or whoever is in the place of Trump in case he quits. Yeah, you heard me right. It's still going to be some kind of chaos. There's some kind of delay in the results or a delay in the election. I'm not sure which. I'll be really trying to figure that out. So stay tuned for more. Basically, I do predictive astrology about world events. My name is Lori Lothy, and I am a traditional astrologer, and I'm using the whole sign house system. But I'm also interested in what we call mundane or world astrology. In addition to all of the videos I put out on my channel, which are at least 20 a month on all signs delineations, weekly, monthly, eclipses and moons, I cover the astrology of the world itself. So this astrology is a part of the election series. My more recent video put out on Friday, the 2nd of August, I predicted of the candidates in the running for the Veep stakes, I predicted Tim Walz based on his astrology. And as I record this Tuesday, August the 6th, it turns out Tim is the winner. Also predicted that Biden would step away from his nomination candidacy to be the president in multiple videos, but also on an election video that's in the series before he did indeed announce he would step away. And I predicted Donald Trump would face assassination in a Leo video for Venus and Leo, in my Mars and Uranus video, and many other videos, because it was obvious he was in harm's way due to a rare confluence of events that could look like an assassination attempt. The whole point of this story is not to say that Lori's great. I'm 3 for 3. I'm sure I can't continue this winning streak, but maybe I can. But I am here to tell you that astrology is predictive. That's the use of this tool. It helps us forecast things, make sense of the world, and time our best life. If you want to learn to time your best life using astrology timing tools, this course by me coming up 6 weeks long in September. It's not open yet, but there is a link to get on the early bird discount wait list. It's me teaching you how to do this for your chart. So take a look at that and my 2024 all signs videos. And one for each sign is on my summer sale price now, less than half price. That content was sold before the beginning of 2024 to my subscribers. You can get that never on YouTube content now at more than half price. All the information is in the description box below. Now let's talk Kamala Harris. And let's talk Tim Walz. I'm not diving into his chart at this point. I'm really just looking at how they intersect each other, what kind of collaborations they can create, what kind of energy he gives towards her campaign and in terms of being successful. As much as I would like to call Kamala, say, the winner at this point, but I will say she's looking strong in certain aspects and a little bit weaker in others. I'm not sure that Donald Trump will be the one she's running against, and I have to make sure that I know who she's running against before I do my final announcement. As weird as that sounds, there's something about Donald Trump chart that could suggest he quits or that he has a health challenge or something derails him from being the guy on the ticket in the final say in November on the 5th. And if that happens, of course, that changes how I see the Kamala story playing out. I will be having an election panel. I'll be inviting a few of my favorite astrologers, Horary investigation by Adam Ellenboss, and also a tarot look at it by Erica Robinson using her Lenormand tarot, and maybe me and another astrologer, perhaps, who's using a tool that I don't have. And we'll be putting that panel together sometime probably in the month of late August or early September as our final say on the election, who will win and who will not. Okay. It's a little bit like sportscasting, but it's also much more serious. We have a T-square from hell coming up in the sky in the middle of August, around the 19th. It is also connected to a Jupiter-Mars conjunction on the 14th, but it is that Venus at 17 Virgo that seals that T-square from hell deal, August the 19th, the beginning of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. I keep saying how this is a whole story that is literally like we're living in 1968 Groundhog Day time loop. I've said in many videos why, but the Democratic National Convention was held in Chicago in 1968. Assassinations happened to politicians and Martin Luther King in 1968. The president in charge, Lyndon Baines Johnson, stepped away from being the one to run for a second term and passed the torch to his vice president. In 1968, what we're seeing is student citizens and protests about a war in Vietnam. We see that this year in Gaza, and students in the United States protesting that war. Why is this all repeating? It's because Chiron in Aries coincides with a North Node transit with eclipses in Aries. It's a Chiron North Node eclipse cycle we haven't seen since 1968, 1969, come back home to repeat itself. And I bring that up because the Democratic National Convention in 1968, also in Chicago, was a story that happened then, and it is happening again now. And we have in the sky during this DNC event a very challenging T-square for Kamala Harris because it's activating her natal fourth house Venus. And I do not know what will happen. I do not know that she's in any danger. I doubt that. It's something else. So let's look at the sky. I'm going to show you the chart. I'm going to not spend more than hopefully 45 minutes on these election videos. I don't want to overwhelm you with astrology, but I'm going to say a few things, and I'm not going to show you everything that I say. Let's just talk about Kamala before we talk about her lot of victory, the distribution through the bounds, and maybe why this alone, the distribution of the bounds and the zodiacal releasing from her lot of victory, may indeed just indicate that she indeed will be the first president of the United States of America, the first female woman of color who is the president of the United States of America. But it comes at a difficult cost. And what the cost is that Jupiter will approach her ascendant and approach Donald Trump's sun and return or refrain, turn away or refrain from making contact. And Jupiter is like the coronation energy for both of these individuals, and he returns or turns away from them before the election in October when he retrogrades. And that indicates something like a delay in the election, delay in the results, like Gore, Bush, Chad, hanging Chad's, election of 2000. Those energies are there. All right, so although Trump avoided an assassination attempt, it is interesting to note that when we have Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions, okay, which we had back, Saturn co-joined Jupiter back in December 2020, it indicates that in that election 4-year window of time, there may be the death of a candidate, a president in office. It's an old Indian curse against the presidents in office during election years that start with a 0. And if you don't believe me, in 1860, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happened and Lincoln was assassinated in office. It's rinse repeat. In 1900, William McKinley was assassinated in the year that the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happened. Warren Harding died in office of a heart attack in 1920's election sequence in a year in which the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction occurred. All right, a cerebral hemorrhage happened in 1940 to Franklin Delano Roosevelt in a cycle in which the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction occurred. It happens every 20 years, that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. JFK was killed after the 1960 Jupiter-Saturn conjunction cycle. Reagan was almost assassinated from the 1980 Jupiter conjunction to Saturn cycle. Anwar Sadat was assassinated and killed in that particular Jupiter-Saturn conjunction cycle. George Bush had a grenade tossed at him in 2000's Jupiter conjunction election cycle. And he did not, of course, die from that. All right. But that was also the Bush-Gore contested election cycle as well. And in 2020, we saw from the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, since then, we get a 4-year run on that, right? What's going on? It's an election cycle story. We did see Biden step down. We saw Queen Elizabeth die, but we also saw Donald Trump nearly assassinated. What does that mean? He's not the king, he's not the president, yet he faced the near assassination attempt. It makes me wonder, until we get to the actual next election from 2020 to November 24, if there isn't still more death in store during this election cycle. Joe Biden in his health, perhaps. Another assassination attempt that we haven't yet seen coming back into the story. There were more than one assassination stories in the 1968 story, right? We're repeating that year. That was Martin Luther King. That was Robert Kennedy, which was the father of JFK. Now, I have videos out on JFK, Trump. and this coming. So they're all in my pipeline. Let's talk Kamala Harris. She's in the news cycle. She just picked her VP. Here we go. I want to say a few things about her chart. All right, she is an ascendant in the sign of the brothers, Gemini. We keep having Venus star points in Gemini before USA elections every 4 years. We're in a new cycle that started in the 60s, which a Venus conjunction with the sun occurs every summer in June before an election in November. Someone said this gives her strength. Not necessarily. There have been people who have won elections who do not have a Gemini rising since the 1960s. Okay, so it can be auspicious. It can be a good sign for her, but it does not necessarily mean that she will win the election. Second of all, you will notice that her midheaven is at 2 degrees of Pisces. And we're going to begin to see this energy of the North Node starting in January of 2025, the North Node Rahu moving out of the sign of Aries and coming into the late degrees of Pisces. And indeed, in the month of September, on the 18th, there is an eclipse in which the North Node is still in Aries, but there is a lunar eclipse in Pisces on September the 18th. And this election will happen for Kamala with a lunar eclipse of completion or revelation or fulfillment in her 10th house, even though the node of fate is still in the sign of Aries. I want to draw attention to that eclipse because lunar eclipses are like a revelation or a real revealing of something that could be hidden from view. And she does have a chironic wound of some sort, which is a wound to one's reputation. And to deal with that wound to one's reputation as an element of her natal sky during this election cycle from a lunar eclipse co-present with her Pisces high noon midheaven is a bit daunting. Because I would also point you to this part of her chart here. Let me annotate. So we talked about an eclipse happening here, September 18th. There's a chironic wound co-present in the high noon of her sky, her social standing, her reputation, her career, etc. At the same time, we see that she has her Venus in the sign of its fall in Virgo in her 4th house, conjunct Pluto, secrets. Now, this is her childhood. I'm not going to go into analyze it. It looks very difficult. There could have been some inappropriate activity going on regarding sexuality and dark stories when she was a child or from her family of origin. That said, this Venus in her fall in Virgo, right, can be known, Venus in Virgo, as promiscuousness. Now, I'm not judging Kamala Harris. Someone gave me don't repeat MAGA rumors. I'm not repeating MAGA rumors. I'm not political. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm Canadian. I've never voted in Canada or the United States in my life. I'm just simply using astrology to delineate possible outcomes. Now, the point I want to make is that this is a Venus that gets tangled up exactly on August the 19th, exactly on August the 19th. Okay, not even a hair's breadth away from her Venus. It's going to be Venus at 17 degrees of the sign of Virgo, August the 19th. And it's going to also be Saturn sitting up here at 19 degrees of her 10th house of career and reputation, right opposite that Venus. So what we end up with is a Venus opposition to that Saturn, and over here, to make this a really difficult sky, will be the T-square to Jupiter, also at 17 degrees, and Mars hanging out beside him, maybe at about 19 degrees. All right, the two combination of planets are here. What does that do for Kamala? It creates a crisis of some sort. Do I know what the crisis is? No, but it's all squares, T-square. Two squares in an opposition. Oppositions are Saturn, who's opposing her success, maybe. And T-squares are also connecting to Mars, which is critical action and decision pivot points. And conflict as well. It could be because she is running for office, and when you're the political entity in power, which is called the Democrat Party, the 4th house is the party that opposes you. And that will be the Republican Party. Could it be that the Republican Party is going to put forth a female vice president and get rid of Vance, because it's almost like a woman in the opposing party opposes her and her reputation around the 19th of August, give or take a few days before and after. And with Jupiter Mars in her first house, Jupiter gives her good things, bounty. Don't forget, he will retrograde starting in October and refrain from the coronating energy that we would like to see happen, the successful vibe. And this is indicating something that comes into her story that makes itself known at a time when she's running for power, running for office. It is not simple. It is not easy. She's running up to the election in her 12th house age, but she will, sorry, let me double check her age, in her 60th age. And that's a powerful age for success. When we're 60 years old, we love it, but she doesn't get there till October the 20th. So she's still in the promotion of her self and her agenda while she's in the 12th house age. And the 12th house age is not a strong age. 60 is, but 59 isn't. She's not 60 years old yet, right? That's going to happen on her birthday, October 20th. And October 20th's birthday is not here yet. So before she ever gets to the election itself, and we have a Jupiter refraining from connecting to her 24-degree ascendant, she's ruled by Venus. Right? She's in a Taurus ruled 12th house age, ruled by the planet Venus. Venus in her chart is fallen, conjunct Pluto, death and rebirth, secrets and things that are hidden from view, Uranus, shocking things that are hidden from view. Regarding what? I don't know. She has Salacia for gossip about things that are 8th house, money and sex things, perhaps. So she's got that problem, Salacia point, even though Salacia trines her Venus, it's sitting there, like kind of wondering what it could do, what could happen with that Salacia. The eclipse of April the 8th at 19 degrees of Aries is exactly square Salacia. This eclipse happened up here, squaring Salacia in her chart. That eclipse is still playing out. That eclipse it's a humdinger. It was a total solar eclipse with Chiron embedded in it, a wound to her reputation. And this is her public influence connected to Salacia, gossip, scandals, often sexual nature with Salacia. So there's something, I don't want this for Kamala. I'm not bad vibing the girl. Something's going to hit her in the middle of August. That's all I can tell you. I don't know what it is. But it may be about money scandals or sex scandals. Take your pick. Not too sure. Salacia's in a house. It could be both. How she's got possession of monies, other people's monies. Sex scandals can be involved in this story because of Salacia often indicating that. Salacia was really active during Russell Brand's sex scandal moment back in the day. Salacia in her natal chart has been activated by the eclipse of April the 8th. Oh my God, the poor girl. But a lot going on here. She's born, though, asteroid America, God bless America, in Libra with Sun career, a career connected to America and solar energy is your career, in a sextile to the god of partnership. And she was a vice president in the American story. So there's her ability to be partnered up as president or vice president in things to do with God bless America, the asteroid America, at 5 degrees of Libra when she was born. Now, when she's still under the rulership of the planet Venus, who is fallen in her chart, and Venus is now fallen in the real-time sky, she is in a vulnerable window of time. Venus is fallen. Mercury owns Venus, but retrogrades, and until July 15th is retrograding for her. It means things to do with her childhood or her past can come into the news cycle until about the middle of August and can be challenging for her in some fundamental way. Mercury then moves into her 3rd house of news material as well. And the last 2 weeks of August could be dispensing negative, gossipy news about her that are shaking up her glow up in the public eye. Now, Venus is owning her, as I mentioned. So let's clear this chunky mess, right, for a second. And let me say a couple of things, because I'm going to talk about her distribution through the bounds next, and the releasing of her zodiacal, releasing of the lot of victory. All right. So first of all, before I tell you about those tools, which are separate than solar return charts and solar arc directions, but very simply said this, if I think of this being the month here of her birthday, October last year, right? We go like this: October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. In the month of August, under the rulership of Venus, the lord of her Profection 12th house age, she is right smack dab in the chironic wound to her reputation and to her career. And so that is highly activated and ruled by Jupiter, hiding out behind the scenes in the house of also things that are hidden. Only good news is Jupiter does trine her now invisible lot of victory at 24 degrees. Her lot of victory is here at 24 degrees of Capricorn. I don't have it drawn in here. You just have to trust me. So her lot of victory is actually being helped by Jupiter behind the scenes deals and negotiations. She was led to be the leader, and the delegates didn't vote for her. So she's got a lot of backroom deals and backroom power sources that are supporting her being the official candidate, because she managed to get the right number of delegates saying, yeah, I vote for her, without an actual DNC vote. So there's a lot of support for her, and it does mean that Jupiter supports her lot of victory. But Jupiter is ruling this month. And Jupiter is in a condition of hardship, squaring Saturn and squaring Venus in debility. So it is not a good month for her, the month of August, by any means. It is not an easy time. When I talk about her chart from the perspective of the distributions through the bounds and from the zodiacal releasing of the lot of the victory, here are what I'm going to say. I'm not going to show you the back end charts. Take a class with me and learn how to use distribution through the bounds and zodiacal releasing from your lot of victory, and we'll get going on that together. You'll learn how to see your own victorious windows of success. But long story short, funny enough, her lot of necessity at 1 degrees of Taurus is conjunct the same position of Biden's moon, where we saw not only an eclipse in October, but we also see Pluto squaring that moon for Biden and squaring her lot of necessity. Why is she in the race? It was a necessity because Biden did not have the cognitive or health matters that would allow him to continue to run. Well, her lot of victory is at 24 degrees right now. I'll just annotate it. It exists up here at 24 degrees. Lot of victory. We'll go V, right? The lot of victory when she was born. It can mean victory from backroom deals, secret negotiations, through financial monies that don't belong to her, donor monies, which she's got a whole bunch of money pouring in to support her campaign. 8th house stories. Support from secret backroom deals and negotiations, yes, for sure as well. But the lot of victory here is sitting at this point in her chart, progresses through something called zodiacal releasing. So even though when we were born, it is in one house in our chart, it hypothetically moves or progresses into different parts of her sky. Now listen to this, guys. Just listen. You're not going to believe it, right? But literally, her progressed or released lot of victory moved into the sign of her 10th house of career, right? It has never been there until the age of 56, which was December the 25th, 2020. And that was the beginning of victory in career and reputation matters. This lot of victory arrived there in December of 2020. Don't forget, the inauguration happened in January of 21 of Biden, and she became the official VP. But also that lot of victory will be there until she is 67 years old. So she's coming into her star is rising, victory in career and reputation and midheaven, God's purpose plotline for one's life. So she is coming into a window of great success, and her Jupiter rules that part of the chart, and that Jupiter this is his house. He owns that real estate, and he trines natally at 24 degrees. He is in a whole sign Earth trine to her 24 degrees, lot of victory. That simply tells me the girl is going up and up and up. The woman is going up and up and up between 6 years old and 67 years old. She is somewhat unstoppable. However, there are going to be some glitches along the way. Now, as of November 10th of 2023, last fall, through to July 2nd of 2025, the progression of her lot of victory at a level 2 zodiacal releasing energy is now activating her Gemini part of her sky. She is being given victory personally as a character on the stage of life. It is ruled by Mercury, and in her chart, Mercury is concerned with the work she's here to do in the world, conjunct the asteroid Ops for opportunity in a beautiful, perfect trine to her midheaven. All said and done, the zodiacal level 2 releasing of her lot of victory into Gemini, ruled by Mercury on opportunity and ops and happy endings after times of difficulties, flowing to her midheaven, is super auspicious for this election period. I think the delay or the kerfuffle is not about Kamala. I think it's also going to affect Trump if he's still in the running, because it's something going on in the world. Could RFK be a spoiler, disrupt the election, get enough votes to not let Kamala nor Trump get 270 electoral votes? That's a possibility. Could a catastrophic world event delay the election? That's a possibility. We'll be talking more about that in another video. So I do think I saw long ago the first female president would be this year's election. I've said it in a couple of videos back in March of 2024. I should just republish those videos. Now, here's the other thing. She also has something called the ascendant distribution through the bounds. The ascendant progressed or distributed using ascensional time and Egyptian terms or bounds. Her distribution of the ascendant through the bounds is what I'm about to address at this time. So from age 40 to 67, her ascendant is moving through the sign of Leo. Her ascendant is moving through the sign of kings and queens. It has progressed from 24 degrees and it is now distributing itself through here and the bounds, or the Egyptian terms that belong to Leo. I'm going to talk about the bound that is active right now. But just understand one thing. She's got her identity connected to solar activity. What does her sun wish her to do? What is her ascendant supposed to do connected to solar question marks? Well, look at that sun at 27 degrees of Libra. Justice, fairness, peace, right? She's already down, like trying to make comments that what Israel's doing isn't totally okay with her. And so we can see that her sun cares with balance, peace, harmonies, treaties. Her sun is in Libra, the thing that has to do with law and justice. And she's a lawyer, of course. And she's got Minerva on her ascendant. Minerva, Athenian people often become lawyers or publishers or authors. She's got the goddess of knowledge and wisdom on her ascendant. Now, and she's got her sun in the sign of law or legal or balance or harmony or justice or peace or alliances. So she's working her life story through the solar energy. That's the whole point. And I want to note something about that 27-degree sun that perfectly trines her north node and Minerva. That is also a connection to something that happened in October 22nd, I think, 2022. And that was that Venus star-pointed at 29 degrees of the sign of Libra. And you can round that up to a 28-degree sun. Within a degree of her sun, Venus blessed her in her career path. That blessing goes for 4 years, guys, October of 22 to October of 26. She is being given Venusian luck, blessings, and goodness regarding her career while she is in an ascendant transiting through Leo. So she's all about sun energy, and that energy became true, that Leo transit back at age 40 through to 67, but only has that sun been blessed by Venus. For the first time in anyone's life since the 1800s, the sun in her chart met with the real sun in the sky with Venus sun conjunction on her own sun. This is like getting coronated by Venus herself. So this woman has exceptional celestial power. I'm not even touching down on her zodiacal releasing at this point, just her plain old zodiacal releasing, not the one from the Lot of Victory. The distribution through the bounds also tells us this. At the age of 54 through to 63, and she's just turning 60, she will be in the bound or term of Saturn within the Leo part of her sky. Saturn is at the top of the sky at the household name degree, conjunct her midheaven. Yes, out of sign, but proximate by degree to the high noon of her chart. Saturn in great dignity, Saturn in his home kingdom. Saturn being blessed by co-presence of Pluto, moving through Aquarius for the next 20 years. Her time has come. She is rising. This is her next 20 years to lose it or use it. And that is amazing that Saturn is 28 degrees. It is a household name degree. We all know now who Kamala Harris is. If you didn't know in the world, you now know if she's a president, she will be increasingly well known by name recognition. So she's in her time. What about her relationship to Tim Walz? Now, I'm going to say, I still think I'm going to give it at this early point an 80 to 90% likelihood that it is Kamala Harris who wins the election. The stock market jiggles and the impending acknowledgement of a recession mean in Alan Lichtman's 12 keys, professor of predicting elections based on 12 factors. 13 keys, I should say. If there's a recession that becomes publicly understood as being here, it takes away one of the keys from the Democratic Party, but they still have enough remaining keys to win because she won the key of contest. So it's still the weakening the likelihood that they will win. Just want to point that out. But nonetheless, it looks still like her chart is strong enough to pull the weight up despite everything else. And I said Tim would win, but I thought Tim should win. If she had a half an intuitive instinct as a woman, and she was literally interviewing these candidates, she would have known it was him. Why was Shapiro not the winner? Shapiro, well, I mean, astrologically, he doesn't look good on her, right? And I covered that in my video from the 2nd of August, predicting that Tim would be the winner. It's because you can't lose the Gen Z vote who's anti-Israel's stance in the world. They're not anti-Semitic. They're pro-Palestinian lives, anti-genocide, call it whatever you want. The Gen Z vote has been compromised, as well as the Muslim vote. They need that vote, especially in swing states. And because Shapiro actually wrote an article at 20 years old saying peace will never happen in the Middle East because Palestinians are too militant, and because he served as a volunteer with the Israel Defense Force, he will not pass muster with the young people. So at a practical level, Josh Shapiro could not possibly have won unless Kamala was not as smart as she is. You don't get to be a district attorney and a lawyer and not be smart. I don't know about her weird laugh and her things about being, what is that old thing? Unburdened by what has been and what will be. I don't get that either. But she's not without a brain. She's a smart woman. She had to be where she is already. So her intelligence alone would have said, forget Josh Shapiro. Now, I think that J.D. Vance may be removing himself from the race, and Trump may ask him to do that, but offer him a big position, like Minister of Homeland Security or something, Secretary of Homeland Security or whatever, by asking him to step down. And why? Because of the scandals, because he's making the Republicans look like they're misogynist or something. And ultimately, he did make that pick before he knew Biden would step down. So in a way, it's kind of, he could make the case he didn't have a full set of information to make the determination on. And I think if he had half a brain, Trump or his advisors would pick Tulsi Gabbard. And I've been saying Tulsi looks like she's rising in relationship to Trump for many videos, for months and months, because he needs to put a woman in to counteract a woman president of color running against his ticket. Honestly, if he doesn't do that, then they're not going to have a chance in hell of even being close to winning this election. Now, let's go ahead. And I want to say one more thing. I'm going to show you Tim Walz's chart alone and Walz's chart and then hers together. I don't have a birth time for Tim. Nobody does. I suspected he was a Cancer rising based on a few stories I heard about his life. But That's not, I could take hours to rectify his chart. Do I need to? Probably not. But if he is a Cancer rising, let's just pretend, just to do a little pretend story, right? His mother was an educator, his father was an educator, Jupiter in the house of education. This speaks to his family of origin energies. He was served in the military, Mars in Aries on the midheaven. Could be a very powerful leader, Sun up with the midheaven in Aries. I just gave him 11:59 a.m. birth time, born in West Point, Nebraska, April 6, 1964. He is Kamala's age. He's a little older than her, right? He's already in his 60th house age. One of the reasons I predicted he would win is the 60th age is strong. And if you look at this as potentially his chart, it does fit things that happened to him in his life. It does reflect upon events that he experienced in his life. He's a big healthcare advocate because of the death of his father and things that happened around that. Energy of, healthcare and stuff like that. And when we see healthcare stories, let me put Hygeia back in here. Medicine for all, ability to get treatments one needs, etc. Let's put it in there. Asteroid Hygeia. I don't know why I took her out. Now I'm having a hunger attack. All right. Sorry, the software just won't let me do one thing without moving this around. So we are going to add the good old Hygeia. She can represent things to do with health. All right. And I could go deeper. I could look for Asclepi in his chart, but let's just start with that. So he's an advocate for healthcare, universal healthcare for all. Ignore all the smaller asteroids. They belonged here. They actually belong to Kamala, the little things you're seeing. But Hygeia looks like a medical symbol. So she's easy to diagnose in a chart. And there she sits. Hygeia with Mercury in the house of making a movement maker. So it kind of suggests, and there's a lot of fortune and Minerva, a law and legal matters around Hygeia, health and health matters, movement making. It fits his chart. It fits his chart that he may be this guy. Okay. And his second wife is also involved in health. And according to this chart, using an ancient technique from India, his second wife is Jupiter, right? And so again, we see the correlations between life events and the potential this could be his real-time sky. He has a rather round face, and often, Cancer risings have rather round faces, etc. So just looking at him as a standalone candidate, why do I think this not only is likely his chart, but why do I like him in general? Well, first of all, he just had an eclipse to his sun, right up there with his midheaven, maybe not with his midheaven, but he had an eclipse to his sun, which represents his purpose. Exactly almost 3 degrees, almost 2.5 degrees off his sun, April the 8th, 2023, out of year, massive change, solar eclipse, portal to the new job, career, purpose, and reputation. So eclipses can elevate you. They're not always like a bad thing. I mean, he's changed a job. He's no longer he's going to governor. He was elected in 2018, governor of Minnesota. He was elected in 2022 again, and he's now changing his job. He's going to have a new job. He's still in politics, right? But he will be having a change. Thank you to that eclipse. We could see he would have a change of job. There's no doubt about it. And now I don't know the degree of his midheaven, so I'm not going to make any assumptions about it. But he has a South Node transit. If he is a Cancer rising through the whole sign, Libra house, that's a South Node transiting right there. It means change of home, loss of home, removal from your current home. If he is going to win, he will move to the White House or the vice president's home, whatever that is, somewhere up on Capitol Hill. So we will have a change of home, right? So that South Node transit through Libra means that for a lot of Libra people, a change of home, letting go of home, surrender one home, maybe perhaps a new home, usually connected to career because of the axis of the Rahu North Node versus Ketu South Node stories. Also, we can see without using the ascendant degree or without using the midheaven degree, because we don't know for sure, I'm just guessing he might be what I'm saying he is. I might remove all of those little bits of Kamala Harris off his chart. Give me a second. We don't need, I didn't go into everything about Kamala. She has the asteroid Lucifer on her moon, but Lucifer is a light bearer and the moon is in her Aries 11th house. And people are making gnarly comments about that. But I've always seen Lucifer as a rebel angel. Okay. And one who brought light and wanted to change the system. So I'm not looking at it as to say that she's a Lucifer character. I think that would be absurd, actually. But here we have Tim again. Just want to finish a couple stories. I was just getting rid of the clutter in the sky here. There's going to be a movement in his chart. This I find fascinating. there is going to be the movement of Mercury from Virgo backwards around the 15th of October, around the 15th of August. Mercury will retrograde backwards into this part of his chart, and around the 28th, 29th, station at 21 degrees, and then move forward here at the end of the month, of August. And because he has the asteroid Ops for opportunity, there's some big energy going on that's going to be in the news cycle. I know he's already in the news cycle, but it is in a flow to his whole sign 10th house. So there's something really positive happening here. And it looks like from the House of Speech, a debate, a presidential debate announcements coming, something like that. Probably somewhere between August 15th and the end of August, we're going to hear about that. And because it's bundled into Ops, the opportunity pineapple, I think things are going to go well for him. If he gets a VP debate going or announced or scheduled around mid-August to September 3rd or something, we're going to go, oh my God, wow, really? Because we have this sense of he's blessed by that opportunity asteroid and happy outcomes after times of difficulties. But that's probably what that is. And the other thing I'd say about him, Sydney, you can tell a lot about a person sometimes by the quality of their lunation, right? So this is the sun, and the moon is moving toward the sun, but has not quite reached the sun. When that moon, right, was here, over here at 16 degrees at Capricorn, that was the half moon or the last quarter moon. He is a last quarter moon person, and they are willing to endure and persevere with the assumption that their life has a greater mission. And whatever hardships occur to last quarter moon people, they don't give up. They just keep on keeping on. And with his moon coming into a conjunction to Pluto, especially as we move towards the end of next year, this is a man who's on the rise with this last quarter moon. He's getting extraordinarily important in some way. The moon is in an interesting and difficult place. It would reflect, if he really is a Cancer rising, things to do with his mother relationship and maybe the early loss of his mom. I haven't checked his story out. I didn't really want to do his biography here, but that would be his mother narratives as well. Where his, if he really was this chart and an Aries sun at the top of the sky is exalted, it can indicate his movement towards greater career paths to reflect or honor his father. There's a star around 14 degrees, 15 degrees of Aries called Alpha Rats. And his sun is pretty close. It's not quite within traditional orb, I don't think, but it brings popular appeal with the masses. And I'm going to call him on that one because one of the things I thought about, his sun is on that star, whether we know it's in the 10th house or not. One of the things I thought about him when I first heard him speak a couple of times, and he came up with the word weird, he has a charisma and he has a way of being and emanating trustworthiness and folksy wisdom and common sense that I think he would be a very popular character in this race. And he elevates the campaign for Kamala in that regard. If we put Kamala's chart over his chart. Oh, yeah, let's just do that. I'm going to put him in the middle. We just know where his planets are. We don't know for sure which houses they're in, but he has a Jupiter moon conjunction with Kamala Harris, and that's frigging amazing. This is like one of the best alignments you can have in a relationship chart. And basically her moon on the light bringer Lucifer is being amplified and volumed up and held into a largesse of expansion by his Jupiter. This means that whatever her moon is for in her 11th house, which could be movements, having a movement to women, women's reproductive rights, right? Holding the bright light torch. He's saying, yes, and I can expand that for you. I can amplify that. I can support that. This is a gorgeous energy for both individuals mutually receiving each other. We know that he has a thing for health matters and really working for, healthcare systems, and her Jupiter in the 12th amplifies his potential movement maker, but his concern with matters to do with health. And as a VP, I bet you his portfolio, should they win, will be to do with health. She had the border portfolio as her VP job. Apparently she failed dismally at border control. I think she'll give him a portfolio connected to healthcare in America, most likely. Okay. And also maybe pharmaceutical regulations and healthcare in America, because pharmaceutical god Neptune is opposite his Hygeia, and her Neptune, of course, is generational, and they're lined up. So also regulating pharmaceutical monies, safety in pharmaceuticals. There's a lot of kerfuffle about the money that pharmaceuticals pay to NIH and CDC, and how there's no independent safety nets anymore at all. So likely she'll task him to healthcare if he becomes a VP for what his focus will be. And I can also say this, we could say that her Hygeia on his ascendant means that her concerns around the medical system and health matters and how she feels about it, whatever she feels about it, because it's in her natal second house of money. Maybe she doesn't like all the money pharmaceuticals are paying, like Fauci at all. Maybe she has a sense of, moral turpitude about this, and she's going to actually be very aligned with whatever he thinks is going on in the healthcare system. And therefore, this is a natural way that they would have chatted perhaps together in their meetings on the weekend, and they would have found common ground. And, her Mars, which is in her third house of publicity and media and going around campaigning on the caravan, being active with the Leo Mars that she has, amplifies his opportunity asteroid. So this brings him great opportunity to be on campaign trail, to be in a news cycle, to be publicized as her VP, that kind of story. Now, it's not a complicated story in the sense that if I just grab Kamala Harris, and this is her ascendant, then across from that is Sagittarius. That's her descendant. That's her marriage house, but also represents business partners. And his Juno is on her Juno. They are the perfect double dynamic duo. His Juno in some house, we don't know his for sure birth time, is conjunct her partnership goddess in her marriage house and in her running mate house. You can't make this up. It's one of the things I called this guy on, is that the Juno conjunction to each other's Juno is super emblematic of being able to partner up together. Finally, also, his south node is in this particular part of the sky, and they're a little bit different, right? I mean, her south node, his south node is in Capricorn, because they're a little bit apart in their year is the same, but their months are different. And the south node has traveled from the time of her birth and his birth, even though it's the same calendar year. So the south node that belongs to, Kamala Harris, in her house of destined partnerships in marriage and business, or running mates as well, is connected to his Juno. There's a destined partnership by whole sign affiliation or co-presence between the two of them. There's some way they're supposed to partner together. Her midheaven and his Saturn, he's grandpa, right? End of story. He doesn't have an age difference significantly. He has an appearance of a friendly grandpa figure. He has a vibe, he's gray haired, he's lost some hair. He just looks grandfatherly to me. Most people thought he was much older. He's not. She looks younger than she is, and he looks older than he is. So Saturn is the wise man, the sage, the one who has boundaries and contains things, gives form and structure to her purpose. I think she'll lean on him. I think if they win, she will ask for his guidance. She will lean on him. She will consult him. He will support structure and guidance and wisdom toward what she's trying to do in the top of her sky. That's how that looks and that feels to me. So that's the vibe between the two of them. When Kamala was born, the asteroid America and her sun, right, are here. If this really was his chart, which we don't know for sure, but if he really is that sign of Cancer rising, then this is the home in which he lives and the roots of his career, and America, and sun. So God bless America. She may propel him into Washington, D.C. to live in a place of the connection to the American leadership story that she's embodying in her life, which means he moves to the capital of the United States of America by virtue of this intersection. So much more I could do if I actually knew what time he was born. But ultimately, he's in his 60th house age. She's in her 60th house age after the birthday of, coming up of October the 20th. And therefore, they're both in powerful, definitionally powerful ages that can put them at the mercy of each of their ascendant lead planetary bodies. We don't know his ascendant. It could be the moon, right? I don't know if he's really a Cancer rising, but he'd be with that Pluto moon energy. He would be very powerfully active, but he'd be dealing with financial matters with eighth house stories. It could be the economy, the stock markets, the pharmaceuticals, that kind of stuff. She would be at the behest of Mercury. So right now, as I said, she's ruled by Venus, but as soon as her birthday happens and overlapping the whole month of October, there's a baton pass to Mercury being the lord of her age. So that's about to shift for her. And as I already delineated that, her Mercury is in a workhouse conjunct opportunity asteroid trining her midheaven. So it looks good. So all I can say at this juncture is because of her distribution through the bounds that I delineated already, and she's in the bound of Saturn, who's a strong planet in her chart, but also in the sign of Leo for leaders and rulers. She is also in a time in her life where, as I reiterated, the releasing of the lot of victory, zodiacal releasing, puts her in a really importantly successful window of time. Go back and listen to the beginning. And we can also add the beautiful energy, right, of going into her 60th age. But that T square in the middle of August is not simple. And something could look like a world event that just derails the whole DNC or something like that, or she could be going through some kind of scandalous, salacious story breaking out because of her fallen Venus in the fourth house. And that's all I have for that. Thank you for listening. And this video, I'm not sure, I'm recording on August the 6th. My Patreon community will get this probably today, early access ad free. I already have in the pipeline a Trump and an RFK video, but SEO is all over Kamala, so I might spit this one out first. And I was intending to put out one a week. We'll see where that goes. If you like electional astrology and mundane world astrology, please share this video, like it, and subscribe, because these are the worst ones on my algorithm. They always sink to the bottom. Seems like election astrology is not the priority of most people, but it is a topic I'm interested in. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much, guys. I'll be covering more in Kamala as we go through the election. I've already looked at her solar return and her solar arc chart. I've already looked at her zodiacal releasing. It's a mixed bag, okay? But Trump is also a mixed bag. So we'll see. I'm waiting to see if Trump lasts. He may quit. If he doesn't step down, first of all, he may change his VP. But he could say, I don't feel like doing it anymore because I know I'm going to lose. And because losers don't like to lose, he could come up with a reason not to be capable of running. Or he may have a health challenge, right? Some stuff going on in his chart that looks like his health might be also having some struggles as well. Okay, thank you, guys.